surprised. Okay, are you done? Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm done now. Probably not, but...
Please stop taking pictures of the cats. All right, welcome back, everybody, to Conflict of Leadership Coffee Table Edition. I am your coordinator shenanigans, Tim Copeland. This is your silly goose, Jeremiah. And, yeah, we got a new intro today, so we're going to head to the intro because we're super excited about that.
Let her rip, tater chip.
All right. So I put a lot of work into that. I put a ton of work. I'm a little disappointed because the song I wanted to use originally was from One Punch Man, and Viz Entertainment will not give the rights to anybody outside of a corporation.
Not surprised.
I'm really not either. So, yeah. This week we're continuing on as part 2 of a multi-part series. We're talking about the new brand of toxic leadership in the fire service. And if you're kind of catching up, or is this first episode you're listening to in that, what we're talking about is throughout the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, we knew the brand of leadership being to call you stupid, you're an idiot, you know, very, very, very aggressive, assertive, you don't belong here. And somewhere in the late 90s, early 2000s on, we started doing a transition into a new brand, which is manifests itself as the teamwork only. So, which doesn't sound bad, but whenever you put in the context that now no one can have an individual opinion, no one can have an individual idea that, you know, disagrees with the team, you still end up in the same place.
Exactly. You know, times have changed since then, big time. It's not like it was 20, 30 years ago, even 15 years ago. So when I first started, it was still somewhat like that. A lot of, you're stupid, you can't do that. You know, just the way they spoke to you. Didn't have it a whole lot, but it still happened with certain people. And when that happened to me, let me tell you what, it made me feel like I didn't belong. I didn't like it. Instead of teaching me, nothing. Instead of teaching me, you're belittling me. Like, hey, don't do that. Do it. You got to do it like this. That's how it should
Well, and
go.
it's funny because throughout the 20 teens here, like we had a period where we did that. Like I'd say like about 2016, really 2016 through probably 2020, we had a period where you would have guys who grab you and say, hey, I'm going to show you the proper way to do this. And it was good. But kind of to where your point is, like, yeah, it lingered around for a long time. And I guess it does seem like the natural inclination is to, like, go the other direction, say, okay, we're all team, we're all going to work together on this.
Yep.
But I don't know. Have you seen anything like that where it's like the team has become such the defining body now that you can't have either an individual opinion, or if you disagree with it, now you're ostracized because you're looked at as being too much or too okay.
Absolutely. Every day at my full-time job.
Oh, that bad?
Especially with it's bad. It's really bad right now. Like, I've been there for 6 years, and the last year is the worst I have seen it ever. You know, we got new managers, and it's pretty much what they say goes. It's their way or the highway. I'm like, that's not fair, because you try to give your opinions or put your thoughts out there about this, this, or this. They just say, we don't care. We're not going to listen to you. But then when things don't work right, and then they come up with this idea, it's like, hey, I said that months ago. Now you want to take
Mm-hmm.
credit for it? You should have at least tried it. You know?
You're distracted by cat.
Yes, I am.
Well, no, to your point there too. I mean, that's often what happens in this teamwork based um, toxicity that happens is that everybody's on the same page, everybody's got to do the same thing, but then inevitably the person who came up with the solution never gets the credit. Always that credit goes to the leadership, and then they force it on you as if that has always been the rhetoric. That's always been the story. We've always done it this way.
You know, like we've talked about before about change and how people don't
Mm-hmm.
want to change. And sometimes that's how it feels there. Like they want to change, but they don't they want to change it in their way and their
Yeah.
way only. They don't want to look at other options and try them out. Like I've told them before, it's like try different things out, trial and error, figure out what works the best instead of just going with one and
Mm-hmm.
sticking to one. Nobody wants to listen. And I was like, I've been doing this long enough. I've seen different things. I've seen what works
Mm-hmm.
and what doesn't work. But, you know, they don't, nope, this is the best one. We've only looked at this one. This is the
Mm-hmm.
one we're going with. There's so many different options out there.
Ooh.
Sorry if I was going to sneeze there. But, and it's frustrating, especially when you try to help to make things better, not only for you, but for everybody else and for the company too. And you just get shot down.
Yeah, no.
And then it makes me like, it's to the point where I've like, I'm done doing,
Mm-hmm.
trying to help. So it's like,
It
nope,
it
come do it
comes to a
yourself.
point, and this is what kills me. This is what I tell my partner at work right now, and he's young, and he's been doing this, I think, maybe about a year, maybe a year and a half, something like that. He's been with us for about 6 months, and I keep on telling him, I was like, look, aside from all this other stuff you get from admin and whatnot, your job here, your first year, I would argue your first few years, but at least your first year is perfect your craft. Perfect your craft, spend time working on stuff that you individually need. If that means pump ops, that means pulling hose line, that means you need to get in shape. That it's a
Yep.
very individual based approach, but it's individual based so that you can work with the team. But on the other side of the house, what we're getting is that, well, you guys need to be doing everything together. You guys need to be doing truck checks together. You guys need to be doing all this together. And if you're not doing it together, then you're not being a team. It's like, no, I will lead him through things. Don't get me wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but there are certain things that he has to do himself. There's certain things that he has to work on himself. Same thing as me. There's things I need to work on. But in this new brand, is that if you are not there holding their hand, you're the problem. You're now we've gone from telling these kids and whatnot that they need to like master everything to now they don't need to master anything, but we're the ones who are the bad guy.
You know, you brought up a good example. One of our new employees, she's still in high school. She's 18. Only had got her basic card on December
Yeah.
31st, and she's only been with us for a month now. And I just recently got
Mm-hmm.
in trouble because of her
Yeah.
narratives. And I'm like, I've done everything I could to, I'm not going to spoon
Yeah.
feed them to her though. That's the thing. And I was like, I did that a couple times. I'm done. I can't hold her hand. I can't spoon feed her. I can't do it for her, or she's never
Mm-hmm.
going to learn. But they go like, well, you've been doing this for so long. You should be able to. I was like, no, I can, and I've told her
Yeah.
how to do it, how to improve that. How she does it, I don't know what else to do, what else to say besides being mean to her, and I'm not
Well,
going
and
to
there
be
comes a
mean.
point at which you can't do it for her, which that was part of the old toxic nature of leadership is get out of the way. You're gonna screw it up. I'll do it for you, and then you never learned. But now we're on the other
Exactly.
side that like we haven't instilled anything. We're too busy. We're too busy during orientation. This is what kills me, and I see this pretty universally just about everywhere. Orientation time is not spent learning. This is how the department works. This is what the department expects, and this is what the orientation time is spent going over all the policies and procedures, the things you don't need to be concerned with. You know, like for example, the one we have. they were teaching these new guys about fire inspection and fire investigation stuff. Well, first of all, if you're not a state certified fire inspector, which we actually have one who does all of our inspection bureau stuff, so none of the inspectors do inspections anymore, and you're not a actual fire investigator, guess what you don't really need to be concerned with at all?
Exactly.
But you know what you do need to be concerned with? Hey, what do we expect on EMS reports? Hey, what do we expect for patient care? Hey, when to call for your second up, when not to call for your second up. But then that stuff gets kind of behind because we want to give them the ins and outs of ESO and every single thing. It's like they don't need to know everything. There will be a time for them to learn, but not now.
Yeah, that's a learn on the job type situation. You know,
it's kind of to your point. It's like, yeah, so there's nothing you can do without doing it yourself for her, but also too in her orientation. It's like that's a systemic issue of the company that you're not instilling what is required, and then there's got to be some sort of company discipline. You can't discipline her. You can't pull her aside, and that has to be whoever does your QAs or QCs. But it's like if you're not doing that, and because we don't want to affect team unity, we don't want to make her feel unwelcome. You're gonna end up in the exact same spot here.
Yeah, and I've told her, I was like, you got to think of it like this: if something happens and this goes to court, both of our names are on there. You're the primary caregiver. You're the one that wrote this report. They will tear you apart. I'm like, you don't want that. You want to make it as detailed as possible, even for the simple little ones. Sometimes there's not a whole lot to put for those. But you got to think of it. If this goes to court, I need to have everything in here as much as I can detailed. Because they cover your butt, they'll cover my butt, because I'm going to get questioned about things too. You just got to think of it that way. You got to think of it a legal standpoint as well.
Well, and you think about that too. It's like, well, when's the time to do that? Well, if you do like reviews in a somewhat cohesive manner, your new employees generally get your 3, 6, 9, and 12-month reviews. Some do a little bit differently. They do quarterly, or not quarterly. They do by thirds, or whatever. But you do your reviews, and that's the things that should be coming up in your reviews. Whoever does your review, which, let's be honest, most departments, most agencies do not do a good job with reviewing, but you should be pulling, a random set of their EMS reports, like 8 or 9, and just looking through for completeness, for accuracy, for comprehension of their narratives and assessments. That should be a part of your review and place to address it. And that's how you build it, how you build that. But instead, what's happening is that we're being told down at the bottom levels, like, oh, hey, we need you to make them feel welcome. Well, don't be mean to them. Don't tell them that they have no idea what they're doing with the reports. But you need to tell them they have no idea what they're doing with the reports. And it puts us in a position where now we're the bad guy regardless.
No, absolutely. And I hate being in that position. With someone that's really brand new, you give them some leeway. But after your 3rd, 4th day with us, you should be getting the handle of things. I see a lot of new people that just stand there. I'm like, you know how to do your job. This is what you were trained for. Get in there and do something. Just don't stand there. Because there's been many times, like, I've not gonna lie, I've been sort of a jackass to them and said, if you're just gonna stand there, then go wait in the truck. Now, got talking to from my partner about that, but she knows where I'm coming from. And she agrees with it, but I got to be nicer about it. I'm like, well, it's either you sink or you swim. If you're not going to stand there and help and do the job you were trained to do, then go somewhere.
And it really brings in, because when you do things like that, all people hear, because I got this almost kind of same issue. I'll go to war over just about anything. I'll fight doctors, I'll fight patients, I'll fight everything. It's like I will go to war for the betterment of my patient, protection of my patient. And if you're going to be somebody who's going to tell me that I didn't give a good report, it's like, no, you literally just told me we don't need a report. We've had this patient before. That's not acceptable, but I'm going to let you know it's not acceptable. But whenever you do that, it brings back these memories, especially with our current chief grade and I guess for you board directors leadership, because that's the generation, at least the tail end generation they're in, of remembering
Yeah.
that, and they're afraid of that because that's what put them in positions that they weren't ready for.
Yeah. And a lot of our new ones that we have, they knew what it was like when
Yeah.
they were on the road, because they're still very
Mm-hmm.
very new. One I think is 3.5, 4 years in. The other is only a year and a half,
Mm-hmm.
2 years in. And then when we get told to stop
Mm-hmm.
calling them when things are happening, that makes people not ever want to call you
Yeah.
when situations arise. And then they get mad. Well,
Yeah.
why didn't you call us? You told us not to call you for stupid stuff. This may sound stupid, but you know what? I need to talk to somebody. They don't like it when they get woke up in the middle of the night. It's like, well, hey, guess what? Part of your position right there. You get woke up at 2 o'clock
Mm-hmm.
in the morning for something.
Yeah.
Not my problem. You know, they had a crew a couple weeks ago broke down in the middle of Columbus, 3 o'clock in the morning. They got chewed out for it. Why are you waking me up for this?
Who are
Excuse
we
me?
supposed to wake up?
Exactly. There's no other
Mm-hmm.
number. Call dispatch and like, oh, well, we're going to transfer you to a supervisor on call. Either way, it's
Yeah.
got to go to you. Want me to wake up Jason, who's
Mm-hmm.
our owner? No, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no. Don't want to do that
Well,
one.
and that's the thing is that, like, part of me wonders if part of this, like, whole, like, push for this teamwork based leadership, that, like, we're all part of a team, we're all part of family, is, the idea of, like, it takes a village mentality,
It does.
which it does, but it takes a village that does not include the village elders. So we all reach a point where it's like, I don't want to deal with nonsense. We all go through that period where it's like, I'm done dealing with newbies, I'm done dealing with probies, I don't want any more. Don't send them to my station. I've told my battalion that, don't send the new guy to my station right now. I don't want to deal with him, and I've been told to go pound salt, and I'm gonna do my job. Of course I am, but we go through those stages. But I can't help but think that we get to a point where we think that we're going to reach a certain level where we don't have to respond to things, and that's just
Exactly.
not the case, because when you're in level of leadership, your job is to be arbiter. Your job is to be arbitration between employees. Your job is to be sometimes judge, jury, and executioner. It sucks because you gotta make decisions, and you gotta make some sometimes very final decisions. But that's the role that you said that you wanted to do as a boss, as a leadership. So don't tell me that in the idea of preserving team unity, we're not going to address this, because it's it's not helping anybody. It's making life harder.
It is. And, like my partner right now, she's out on medical leave, and I'm waiting. I'm waiting. She's out on medical leave, and I'm I'm the one of the only other persons at our station that knows how to get
Mm-hmm.
things done. And I've told her, I was like, hey, like sometimes I feel bad bothering her, but I'm like, I gotta get the key out. I gotta make
Yeah,
supplies up, and like she doesn't reply back pretty quick sometimes, so I
yeah,
just do it. I'm like, she's like, oh yeah, it's fine. It's like, hey, it's been 20 minutes. I already got the key. It's already been done. Like I don't mind doing that. But then when somebody's tattletaling on me that I was in the office and I'm
mm-hmm.
getting chewed out, I'm like, well, then you guys can drive your hour
Yep,
drive down here and you
mm-hmm.
can come do it. I know
Mm-hmm.
how to do it. I had permission to get in there to do it, even though I just went ahead and did it. I was
Yeah.
like, I'd rather do it now and deal with the consequences
Well, and
later.
there's a de facto thing that happens, and this is what kills me about this new idea, is that only leaders make decisions. There's no more like like uh passing down like responsibility. So one thing
Hmm.
I'm having to learn here in a very short order in the Army is I've been appointed first sergeant to a battalion. Well, it's a company within a battalion, but it's HHD, a high headquarters detachment company within a battalion, and I'm going to have to learn in short order two things. Number one is I can't be hands on with everything, which is going to be very weird for me because I spent the last 12 years of my military career doing just about everything, very hands on. But second of all, when I'm not present, assigning somebody who in my stead has the authority and has the responsibility of handling most things. I will still have to be available, obviously, to, if there's something really goes wrong, but, they can handle most issues. And that's what it should be for you. It's what it should be for and, when the captain's off, it goes down to the lieutenant. When the lieutenant's off, it goes down to your senior firefighter. In this new branding of this leadership we have, it is, no, I'm in charge. No one else can know the secrets except for me, but everyone needs to work together to make my secrets work.
Right, but how do I know what your secrets are if you don't tell us? Like, we're not mind readers, and I feel like that's how it is at my full-time job. Like, okay, well, you don't tell us these things. How are we supposed to know we're supposed to do this, this, and that? We don't. And I've said that to them before. I was like, your guys' communication with everybody is terrible. I told them, I'm like, this is like a toxic relationship, and I got ridiculed for that. I'm like, but it's true. You guys know what it's like to be on the road and know how bad it can be. So you don't sit there and argue with me that it's not, because something happens like, well, you need to do this, this, and this. I'm like, well, that's news to me. Like, he's like, well, what do you mean? I was like, nobody's told us that. Or we'll hear things from other people from other stations, like, oh, they want to start doing this, this, and this. But it hasn't been relayed to, like, our station supervisors or just the rest of the company. Like, how are we supposed to know these things if it's not relayed? You got to tell us.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is that, like, as you say, communication with it is everyone's on a team, but no one actually knows, like, all these things. Again, and we said before, well, I'll say it again, that sometimes we learn things and we're like, well, of course, duh, of course that's what you're supposed to do. Well, yeah, but that's not the expectation. You can't expect people to know what they don't know. One thing I hate is, and this is something when I was talking to my company commander, I told him, look, I'm coming back into a fuel unit for the first time in 6 years. I haven't been part of a line yet. It's not even really a line unit I'm going back to, but I haven't been a part of a line unit in a while. And I told him, it's like, I'm not looking to come and completely upturn everything. At some point I will as an NCO, but I'm not coming to upturn everything. But, like, as I learn things, I have to remember, oh, hey, these are the regulations and things I've learned. The question I have to ask myself, was this common knowledge to me when I was at that level? So you become, you become a boss or whatever. You become whatever you call them, a crew chief or, shift supervisor, whatever. And you learn that, oh, hey, our supply forms are actually supposed to be submitted in this very specific format to this very specific address or email address or whatever. And you, up to that point, you've just been sending it to your supervisor and letting them figure it out, right? Now, for you to then go back and say, hey, why aren't you guys are doing a supply list? Why aren't you sending it to this email? You should know better. Well, no, you didn't know any better. So why should you expect them to? This is the time where you come and say, hey, so I know we've been doing this. We need to start doing this now because that's how we work as a team. But to come at everyone's like, you're holding up everybody else and you're making the world harder for everyone else because you're doing your own thing and you clearly don't care about the rest of the company. That's the wrong approach.
Oh, absolutely. And I will say that's one thing that my partner is good at. She'll simplify things for everybody. And she will want people like, hey, instead of reaching out to them, reach out to me. I can get things done quicker most of the time. But there's still some people that, like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm just going straight to them. And then upper management, they get mad. And she's like, guys, you got to stop. I can get things done faster because I go up to the headquarters every Wednesday. Like, let me deal with it. And there's some people who are like, well, we never done this before. She's like, well, this is how it's being done now. This is what I've been telling you guys for, X amount of months or years. Like, just help me help you.
Well, you just stumbled on something out that just kind of just stuck out to me. Why is it that, upper management comes down, like when they hear of a problem, all of a sudden it's like, it can't just be a low level response where they say, hey, supervisors, get on it. No, it has to be a policy changing, memo inciting, like complete overhaul. And it dawned on me that the way that we do management in the fire service and the way we do management private ambulance world is that your manager should not know what your road crews are doing most of the time. And I say that loosely because, they should have a general idea. Okay, when calls go out, this is who's going out and this is general. But in all honesty, like our fire chiefs, they don't know on exactly which patients we're going to be doing IVs. They don't know exactly which patients we're going to be putting, EKGs on our 12 leads. Now, they be able to look and probably guess, oh, they'll probably be doing this, but they don't know what order we're doing it in. They don't know like what the methodology is, whether we wait to put oxygen on when we get out the truck or whether, oh crap, we need to do this right now, sort of deal. And they shouldn't, to a certain extent. They should not be managing to that level because they have captains, lieutenants, shift supervisors, whatever you want to call them, to do so.
Right.
But what you kind of stumbled on and made me think of is that when you bypass that and you go straight to the shifts or straight to the company manager, whatever, owner, whoever it might be, the fire chief, their immediate assumption, because of what they think they've built, is that, oh, if you're coming to me, this is not only a serious problem, it's an ongoing serious problem, and it's an ongoing serious problem that my leadership is not fixing. And it doesn't matter how insignificant it might be, and this is why it's so dangerous to have your open door policies banned in my existence in any department, because all that does is creates this idea that our leadership is not doing its job.
Exactly. And like my full-time job, our owner says, hey, I have an open door policy. To an extent, you do there. 2 times out of the year, you have an open door policy. But the thing is, like, when we have complaints about things, we're not heard. And that's the biggest problem. Like, this is the problem going on. This is, like, we tell our station supervisor, it gets relayed. They just brush it under the rug. And that's a huge problem. Because when you want to, after a few weeks, you're like, hey, have we heard anything back about this issue?
Yeah.
Nope. I'm like, what do you mean no? Like, this is an issue. Like, I'm sick of this. Like, right now we have a huge turnover rate because of our holdovers. We just had someone recently quit on one of our stations because they were held over for 5 hours.
Which, I mean, I understand the quote unquote nature of our job. You can expect to be held over, but there is, in general, there is some limitations that have to be put on there.
Absolutely. But then when it comes back to saying it's only 5 hours, that's 5 hours more than I should have been held
5
over.
hours, that's almost 25% of a day.
That's a 17-hour shift.
Yeah.
For that person that quit. I'm like, that is absurd. But thing is, a lot of the people, they don't speak up and stand up for themselves. Because you know how it is at private too. You refuse a call, either you do the call or you're fired.
Well, and also too, like, and this is the problem we're starting to face in a lot of smaller departments, but even state departments. We kind of talked about LA and all the issues going on out there. Is that when people are being hired now, they're being hired under the moniker of, well, I hope you're not one of those people who constantly makes issues. I hope you're not one of those people who you always pick up the phone to call and complain about things, because we are getting really tired of the bad attitudes we have here and guys who just sit here and complain. And don't get me wrong, there is a bunch of people out there who just complain for the sake of complaining. Absolutely. But then there's a lot of legitimate issues out there that guys are trying to bring up, and then the only reason they complain about is because no one listens to them.
Exactly, and that's what sucks, because when you have
Mm-hmm.
legit problems, you're not
Yeah.
being heard. It's just like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, or like write it down or email it,
Yeah.
whatever you're supposed to do, but nothing. You don't find out the resolution
Yeah.
or the solution to that. Like, like that's a problem. Like, we need
Mm-hmm.
to know, like, if this has been rectified, or you're
Yeah.
not doing anything about it. You're just blowing it out of proportion, because sometimes most people
Yeah.
do blow it out of proportion. But like for my full-time job,
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of huge problems that are
Yeah.
not being dealt with. Like 2 weeks ago, I called and I said, I am not driving this ambulance no more. It is unsafe for us to be driving. It's
Mm-hmm.
unsafe for us to be putting
Mm-hmm.
patients in. And they're like, well, this is the first I've heard about it. I was like, that's bull crap, because this thing's been rode up for the
Yeah.
past month. And they're like, oh, well, take this other truck. I was like, I'm not taking another truck, because the lights in that truck don't work. The brake lights,
Mm-hmm.
reverse lights, turn signals,
Which
they don't work.
again is then that's a deadline vehicle.
Yeah. And they knew that was out of service 2
Yeah.
days prior. Nothing was done about it.
Mm.
It's just sitting there. And then they went to go fix the truck. Oh, it's fine. It is
Mm-hmm.
not fine. Another day it went back up. Mechanic got in and it said, yeah, this
Yeah.
truck is unsafe. Needs a whole
Yeah.
new rear end. And we were toting around
Mm-hmm.
people in that.
Well, and it's because it doesn't align. So like, and I'm, you know me, I am very much like, once I got a plan in my head, I want to see that plan come to fruition. There's a reason why our chief gets a little annoyed with me sometimes, because if she feels like she has to remind me, I do know in the back of my head, not all my plans come to fruition, but I want to at least see
Right.
through, like, to where they can be, so that I can know what to do next time. But I think what happens is that companies and fire departments and fire chiefs and company owners and whatnot, they have a goal of what their company wants to look like. And let's be honest, no fire chief, no company owner wants their company to look like trash. None of them
Right.
want to appear as if they are incompetent, or they're not prepared, or not well trained, or able to, whatever the case may be. And so they create this track where it's going to get there. Things like broken down ambulances where, like, basic light systems don't work, they get in the way of meeting that goal, whether financially, whether by time wise, man hours lost, whatever the case may be. And so instead of addressing it, we go and we brush it away until it actually becomes a legitimate problem, and then all of a sudden we lose our minds, because now not only is it something that's probably caused some damage, if not injury, but now it is definitely a roadblock to your greater plan, and now you have to deal with it.
Exactly. And it's like, like for me at least, our mechanic and at least one of our managers knows that I know what I'm talking about. When I'm reporting a major issue with a truck, I'm not just saying just to say it. Like, no, this needs to be handled like ASAP, like the next day. But when it gets brushed off for a week or two, I'm like, why is this truck still sitting here? Like, this should have been taken up last week. Now we're down so many trucks because you just brushed it under the rug. This could have been fixed in a couple of days, and that truck would be back out on the road, because they're cutting people because they don't have enough trucks. They're broken down. Well, you listen to me. Like, we can't be putting people in some of these trucks that we have. Like, well, we need them on the road. That's not my problem. They need fixed because it's unsafe. I was like, what if something happens and, like, say they sue the company and I have to go to court for some reason? You best believe I'm gonna say they knew about it. Because when I put in my reports, I take a screenshot, I take a picture of it on my phone, and when I submit it, so they can say, oh, we never got it.
Yeah.
That's a lie. Because I'm gonna cover my end if something major were to happen. I'm like, you guys got to start taking control of these trucks.
Well, and it's like, and I realized too that a lot of the leadership, and this is what's sad, because this let's just talk about for a second the effect of the original brand of toxic leadership. You're an
Mm-hmm.
idiot. You don't know what you're doing. If you can't figure this out, if you don't know where you're driving, why are you in the driver's seat? Quit the fire service. You're not worth it. That kind of thing. What that did was it didn't force people to learn how to do the job. Some did. You're about to be attacked there. um, some did, but what it actually really did, and this is why, like, we look at some of that generation, we're like, why is it you have people who they're like hiding in shadows who have no idea? No one likes working with them because they don't know what they're doing, but they still somehow have a job. And we do baser things like say, oh, well, the union just protects them, and oh, well, they just know the right people. It's like, no, they learned how to hide because that's what you do in that aspect. We've talked about this
Yep.
when working. I've tried to explain this to some of our younger proteges, but the way that you used to get out of trouble for something is you would gaslight someone else's mistake that so that people would pay attention to them instead of you. The old tactic was, well, yeah, I broke this, but look at what he's doing. He's doing something really stupid. Go yell at him, and it takes the pressure off me for a while.
We had someone at the
Mhm.
department like that. No longer
Mhm.
works here. That's because that's exactly what he would do. You knew he'd be in trouble. He's like, oh, but this person did this, this, and this. Like, no, you just like, hey, yeah, I screwed up. I knew better. I still did it that way. Just you got to take accountability too. Like, I'm the first person. I screw up. Yeah, I screwed up. I'd rather just admit it and take the smack on the hand or the butt whooping than try to blame it on someone
But the problem is when you do that, the other people, they continue to hide in the shadows, and now they're the ones who are in charge because they've got time and service, and they got whatever. And now we end up with these people who they don't know how to fix a truck. Like, for God's sake, a couple weeks ago we have barn fire, and we have one of our members who's been there for 30 years doesn't know how to run a pump. That truck has been there almost as long as I have, and he doesn't know how. And yet somehow that is perfectly appropriate, and he has then continued to go underneath the radar over it.
Yeah, and that's a problem. I mean, like you said, he's been there for 30 some years. He should know how to run that truck. Maybe he needs to show up more calls, more training. When you show up to 5-6 calls a year, maybe let's say 15, that's a problem.
Yes, but whenever you're never taught how to actually handle employees like that, like the first thing that should have happened that Monday morning, phone should have been picked up. Hey, can you come sit down and talk? Even if that means as fire chief, you got to come in at 6 o'clock at night whenever they get off their normal person job, to go talk to them. Cool. Hey, can we sit down and talk about this? But that's no one ever taught the current leadership to do that. No one ever taught the current leadership how to navigate problems. All they know is you either can or you can't. We don't know how to navigate what if you can't. And it's created this world now where they don't want to address problems because they don't know how. Like, your bosses don't know what a broken truck looks like. It's like if you go and tell someone, hey, my brakes are bad, and go look at the car, and they just look at the car, from a third person point of view. Well, it looks fine to me. Everything looks good.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing. What people know at my station that I do a lot of vehicle maintenance, or at least what I can do. They say, hey, they'll text me or say something to my partner like, hey, the brakes don't feel right. They're grinding. I'm like, great, awesome, okay. I mean, our trucks are 24/7. They barely get a break, and they're like, we have trucks that are 4 years old and almost 300,000 miles, almost 100,000 miles a year. A lot of miles. But what I do, I take the tire off. I look at the brake pads. Can you kind of look at the brake pads through the rim? Kind of, but not effectively. Gotta take the tire off. The only way. And I take a picture of it and I send it to my partner. These need replaced. And I've told them multiple times, hey, send stuff down here that I can do, that you guys know I can do. Let me do it. It helps you guys out.
Yeah.
They don't want to do that.
And part of that, and I get the legality parts. Part of that is supposed to be an AST or ASE mechanic.
We have 2 mechanics. Only one is ASE certified.
You know,
and he's not even the head mechanic.
Well, and I mean, but they should be doing stuff like that. I get where they're like, well, we can't have you do it, but you can be replacing light bulbs and turn signals.
Yeah.
You can replace wiper blades. You know, you can, if there's a light that goes out inside the cab, you can fix that. That's not a.
Yeah, and that's what I do, because I don't do it and it ain't gonna get done.
But here's the thing: is that whenever you don't know how to do these things, or no one's ever taught you, or you never were forced to do yourself, like, I'm gonna say this carefully, but your leaders who they want to get promoted so that they don't have to do the grunt work, but then because they get promoted so fast, they never actually really learn how to do their job. And so then they're coming to their younger guys saying, hey, I do this. Hey, what's that gauge? What's that gauge actually mean? It's like, dude, you're the boss. Excuse me, Kat. You're the boss. You should know this. But again, it's like, we look at it like, well, you're going to help them, right? It's like, well, yeah, but at some point we have to get on this boat of not just saying, for the team, we're going to do things. No, sometimes people need to be on their individual merit of what they can and cannot do.
Yeah. And like for our managers, like there's been multiple times I have walked into their office, sitting in the dark. One's just kind of just playing on the computer. The other's playing video games on his phone. I'm like, everybody sees you guys when they walk into work. What kind of example does that set for anyone else? It shows that you guys don't do anything. You sit in the dark and you play on the computer and play on your phone. Like, that is terrible. Yeah, meanwhile, there's things that are broken, things that aren't getting fixed, things that are not being addressed. What
and
the
if
hell?
You guys take too long, because I remember my time of Property Ambus, if you take too long to acknowledge a call, or if you say, hey, we're going from Columbus to Worcester, hey, we're going to stop off somewhere in Mansfield to grab lunch. What are you doing? What you guys doing?
Exactly what they still do. Why'd you guys stop?
Because it's 3:00, we haven't had lunch yet, and this pickup is, not for another hour and a half. It's only going to take us 45 minutes to get there. Well, we need you to get there. I need food.
Yeah. And that's the problem. Like, we up north, we have our two headquarters. We got our main road headquarters, and then our like all of our office stuff, our dispatch, our billing, the owners over there. I'm going to tell you, it is like East and West Germany over there. It is bad. When neither one of them want to go across the street to talk to each other, there's an issue. I'm like, why? What is so bad between our leaders that you guys don't even want to speak to each other unless you absolutely have to?
Well, and I can understand part of it, of like, because we all hate when the bosses come down to talk to everyone. Because number one, usually it's nothing actually substantial. It's always just fluff.
Well, we have managers on both sides, and they can't stand each other.
Well, and that's their problem. But this is, I get where it's like, okay, one side wants to say, hey, you should be handling this. The other side is saying, well, no, we need your help and we need your support. It works together in that.
And they don't. They're fighting. It's like a magnet, north and north, south, south. They're pushing against each other. They don't want to work with each other.
No, and that I don't understand, like what the whole like hang up is, because it's like, I get and I get as the owner. So say from the owner's perspective, well, they're not doing the things that they need. Then you know what? You probably, as the owner, as the ultimate authority in this company, need to go to them and say, you're not meeting this expectation. You're not doing this specific job that I need you to do.
Mhm.
Hey, figure out like what's going on. Like, is it rabies? Is it bugs? Do you have a brain tumor? Like, well, what's going on here? Like, do you just not like me? Like, we can work with those things.
Right.
But if you,
Like, but they gotta
yeah,
talk to each other. They gotta come out like, okay, here's the problems
mhm,
that we're having.
yeah,
Let's pick somewhere
yeah,
and let's start from there and
yeah,
try to
and
fix
let
it.
them know like this is what we're trying to do with the company. So when I tell you
Mhm.
that we're not going to do this, I'm not telling you because I don't want you to do your job or I want to make your job harder. No, I'm telling you we're not going to do that because we got this going on. Sometimes just knowing a general grand plan of like where the company or department's going makes a huge difference to people.
It really does.
You know?
Like I hear it all the time from other people from the other
Mhm.
stations. Like
Yeah.
management sucks. They don't care
Mhm.
about us. Dispatch don't care about us because we're tired of being held over. When we call and complain about it, we get told either run the call or
Yeah.
you're going to be fired. And I'm like, you shouldn't be threatened. Like, listen to
Mhm.
the situation. Like, like they'll send people from other
Mhm.
stations to another station. They're an hour
Yeah.
and a half away, or 2 hours away, and like, hey, I'm gonna and call and say, hey, I'm off in 3 hours. I got a 2 hour drive back, and they get told, too bad, you
Mhm.
have to do this, and you wonder why
Yeah.
people leave. And when you call management, they're like, you
Yeah.
know it. It's in the policy. Either you run the trip or
Yeah.
you're terminated. I'm like, that's not fair. Like, I'm in Columbus. I got to drive
Mm.
2 hours up to Cleveland. I should be
Yeah.
left by now. But that's the thing. They'd rather just deal, have you just run the call and be held over X amount of hours. And then now you take the risk of them falling asleep
Mhm.
driving because they're
Mhm.
alone. And then they get
Mhm.
criticized because they totaled an ambulance in
Yep.
another vehicle.
Well, and what kills me is that I can understand where somebody's looking at this grand plan and saying, okay, we hold this crew over and we don't hold over these other people, or we don't have to have someone come in early. Cool, I get that. But here's the thing: it's like when you have this grand plan and you have multiple people within your company saying, "Hey, this isn't working. Hey, this is causing us issues. Hey, this person is getting burned out because they have been held over, 4 times in the last month, and they have
Yep.
kids who are in whatever school, whatever middle school, high school, whatever. They're missing recitals, missing band concerts, missing football games. What fill in the blank is like you should stop and say, okay, hold on, maybe we have this really good thing we're doing, and maybe we are like doing this like really good thing for community. Like right now, our department's trying to do a mental health thing, and it's like, is it really good? Yes. Like ultimately, do I think that like we need to do more for this? Yes. However, when you are putting that extra strain on everybody else, everybody is getting burnt out, not because of the patients we're dealing with, but because the expectation that you're adding and you're not willing to budge anymore on either pay or compensation or anything like that, you should pause and say,
Exactly.
oh, hang on a second, hang on. This is a really good thing we're trying to do, but it's causing discourse. It's causing people to get upset. And the one or two naysayers, okay, yeah, hey, let's do it. But when you've got on every single shift and you have multiple people in every single shift singing the same tune, we don't like this.
Hmm.
This is not helpful. This is hurting us. You should probably take a step back and say, what are we missing? We're missing something here that is actually that's causing this problem, and we should probably
Right.
address that.
And that's what they got to do. Okay, you got multiple people with the same
Mhm.
complaints
Mhm.
over and over and over again. How
Yeah.
do we fix this?
Yeah.
What are we going to do to fix this? Or how can we
Mhm.
make it better? What kind of incentives
Yeah.
can we give? Hey, you're uh, held over. Now you're going to make time and a half
Yeah.
automatically because you're being
Exactly.
held over. Or we're going to give you a hundred
Yeah.
dollar gift card for
Or
being
hey,
held
we
over.
we'll pay. We'll pay for your meal for wherever. Hey, go
Yeah,
somewhere. Get the receipt.
they're
Yeah.
rectifying it.
And we'll make sure we feed you. We'll make sure we'll throw in some per diem for you to because it's inconvenience.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, and that's not
No.
happening. These people are just getting like, even for me, like I get held over
Mm-hmm.
constantly, at least 2 hours, 3 to 4 times
Yeah.
every pay period. I'm like, this
Oh
is
yeah.
ridiculous. But you know what? I really don't say much because, well, to me, right now,
Yeah.
it's just me. There's extra money in my pocket, a little bit of extra, not a whole lot, but it's the fact that it's happening over and over and
Well, and
over again. It's
again,
a
it'd be
problem.
one thing if you could do, if it was just you or other bachelors or bachelorettes, but when you're doing it and
Mhm.
people have kids, they
And that's
they
a
have
huge
other
problem.
jobs. They got parents who are not doing well because that's our generation right now is about to enter that world where our parents are all gonna start getting sick and
Yep.
whatnot. And it's like you can't do this. The hospitals
Mhm.
don't hold it like these hospitals. They are on skeleton crews, and I guarantee you, with the exception of a few trauma arrests to come in or something like that, most of these hospitals are not holding over their nurses or their physician staff or whatever by hours and hours.
Yeah. And like our owner always says, this company was made off family.
Yeah.
We are all a family. Well, when you treat us
Mm-hmm.
like this and constantly hold us over and we're missing out on our family, th- th-
Yeah.
you're saying this is
Mm-hmm.
the family. You're not treating us like
I
family
always.
because now I'm losing my family because of your poor management and you don't want to treat me like family.
Yeah.
Like a couple weeks ago, I had a coworker who was down
Mm-hmm.
in Columbus and said, "Hey, I'm from this area. I got a 2 hour drive back, and I'd really like to get ahead and back up there so I can get off my time. My wife's at home with our
Yep.
sick child. She really needs my help." He was held over 3.5 hours because they told him, "No, you have one
Mm-hmm.
more trip to do."
No, and I've really come to hate whenever a company or department says we're a family or this is a family, like I cringe because
Oh,
that's
I
like
do
the
too.
big red flag that goes up that says that means that you're saying that I should give my heart and soul for nothing except my sheer devotion to the company, and that's an issue right there. Like
Oh,
because that
absolutely.
also tells me you're not going to give me anything else because next question you're going to ask me will ask for something. Well, would you do that to your family if your family called? Would you? It's like, dude, f off. You can't. It's like
Mhm.
you're right. I would do things for my family that I wouldn't do for anyone else. You are not
Exactly.
my family. I'm sorry. That's just not how this works.
Yeah. Like my partner yells at me every morning we come in because I
Hmm.
clock in early. I sit there and I do nothing. And she's like, you need to start doing something.
Yeah.
You're clocked in. I was like, you know what? They hold me over. They steal my time. I can
Hmm.
steal their time. It's a fair
Hmm.
trade for me. And that's
Yeah.
my attitude about it. And like, you hold me over from my
Hmm.
personal time, and I'm gonna sit here and do nothing for
Well, it's
15
interesting because
minutes.
actually that's what most labor lawyers are starting to push now. Is not necessarily what you're doing, but this whole idea of getting there 20 minutes early, 30 minutes early, and labor lawyers are actually saying no, you can get there early. Well, one of them actually, it was kind of amusing, where he's the bearded attorney on YouTube. He actually kind of looks like JD, almost like a JD Vance in a way. He's
Okay.
kind of got that like that look to him. He's not. I actually had to look. I'm like, this isn't JD Vance, is it? No. Okay, it's not the vice president who's doing this. It's a different guy, but it's like he's kind of got that look to him. But he said that like when in his law firm, whenever he has like his interns or whatever come in, they're like 15, 20 minutes early. He'll look at them and say, he'll look at them and say, go get coffee, go get a bagel. In fact, here's $15. Go get breakfast. Like, and come back and start working at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whatever time you're supposed to be here. Because it's partially because of the overtime and all that. But it's like, look, I'm paying you from 9 to 5, right? With an hour off for lunch. I'm not I'm not paying you from 8:45 to 9. You are cheating yourself by getting like working those extra 15 minutes. Now, is there
Hmm.
merit to being there a little early and, getting yourself set up? Absolutely. But this is also why, like, when I come into work in the morning, especially at 6 a.m., I'm rolling in like 5 minutes beforehand because unless somebody's out in the call and I just happen to be like 3 blocks down the road, I can come in a little bit early. Like, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of like, I'm not going to get paid until I clock in. Why am I, I'm not going to, and all we're going to do is sit there and drink coffee anyways. So
Hmm.
why am I going to, wake up a half hour earlier at 4:30 and it makes no financial sense. But in the
No.
family atmosphere, that no, you should because you should be giving to the family. It's like no, that's your sleazy way of saying I should give free stuff back to the company so that you can cut some
Hmm.
corners.
Yeah. And like I told her, I'm like, they steal my
Mm-hmm.
time all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna steal their time. I was like, you know what? At the end of the 2 weeks, it's like a whole what do you do? An hour and a half. Look at my
Mm-hmm.
holdovers. 7 hours of
Mm-hmm.
holdover.
Yeah.
They'll be
Well, and
fine.
it's I'm gonna have to bleep out some of this. You never admit to anything.
Oh, I
Yeah.
don't care. But thing is, we're
Mm.
allowed to clock in that
Yeah.
15 minutes early. But I get you're on the clock.
Yeah.
You should be working. Nah.
Well, I'm also, but I'm also too is like, it's like at 8 o'clock, like when you start work at 8 o'clock, I'm gonna sit there and enjoy my coffee. I have an hour before roll call that like we can
Hmm.
get our trucks done. I promise you, it's not truck checks do not take an hour. Unless
No.
they have structure fire the night before or a full rest or something. And even then, it takes maybe an extra 15 minutes to do your truck checks, do like good solid truck checks. And this is me popping open every cabinet like I do and going through everything. It doesn't take that long. I draw it out because I'm listening to music and I'm drinking my coffee as I go. But if I were to bang it out, it'd take like maybe 15 minutes, 20 at the most.
Hmm.
But that's the thing. It's like when it comes down to it, it's like clock in. I'm gonna sit there and commiserate with the offgoing crew because that's what you do as a family. You talk to
Absolutely.
them and you build relations. What kills me right now with this new brand of toxic leadership is that we're a family, but we don't want you sitting there on company time talking to them. We don't want you. You guys can go hang out on your own time and talk. It's like, well, no. What all are we doing this exact moment? I realize I got truck checks to do. Okay, and they'll get done. I promise you. But if we're all pitching in, the truck check I should never go to that truck and it be such a wreck that there's times where it's like okay things happen, but in general that
Yeah.
truck should never be such a wreck that I could not drive out and be able to at least do my job.
Yeah.
Maybe a tool's been put somewhere it shouldn't have been, or but it's like whenever it's like, oh, well, you didn't have five was it catheters in the drawer. I can think about four other places in this ambulance where I have IV catheters besides the drawer. If I run out of
Yep.
20s there, I'm going to the first in bag. If I run out there, I'm going to the IV tray. If I run out there, I'm going to the drug box. Like they're everywhere. Like
Exactly.
it's like I think we can afford to take a few minutes and actually, if you want us to be like a family and sit there and chat.
Yeah. And like for us, like
Mm.
that's all we have. We have 15 minutes to be done and
Yeah.
called in service. And like if you take over 15 minutes, our dispatch is calling. Are you guys in service? You guys have a call. No, my truck
Yeah.
was a disaster. It needs cleaned. Haven't gone through all I needed to go through yet. It's going to take me probably another
Yeah.
15, 20 minutes. They're like, well, no, you need to go do this call. No, I need to make sure
Mm-hmm.
I have everything I have. I have
Mm-hmm.
oxygen to fill. That takes a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
extra time. My truck is not ready to
Yeah.
be in service. And then when I'm getting phone, well, not
Mm.
just me personally, but other crews get called from the supervisor. Why aren't you guys out on the road? You have a call on you. Well, our truck was a
Yeah.
disaster. It's not in service. Oh, well, they didn't tell us that.
Of course it didn't.
Exactly. If like, of course they didn't. I'm like, and I was like, I will send you pictures
Mm-hmm.
of the truck. I will send you pictures. Like one day, my main was
Yeah.
completely empty, and and we had a
Mm.
call on us. It was like 5:45 in the morning. I don't start till 8 a.m. Like, don't give me a call at 5:45 in the morning when I'm not there when there's 2 crews
Yeah.
sitting right here that could have went done that exact same call. Like I have things I gotta get done. I was like, I got headlight
Mhm.
bulbs to change. I got a marker light to change. I gotta put the truck together. It's gonna take me
Yeah.
a little while.
Well, and it's funny because they call and say, "Are you in service?" And they're like, "No." Well, I have a call for you. No, you asked me if I'm in service. You didn't say,
Mm-hmm.
"Can you take a call?" You asked me, am I in service?" Those are two very different questions. And
Yes.
but again, though, this is where I think that we have gone wrong as a fire service in general and private ambulance is that we are, as the British call, make, do, and mend people. Like we are, like look at what we did with our heavy rescue for years and years and years. That thing was a hunk of junk. I had CAF system that only worked 50% of the time, and that 50% of the time only actually effectively worked about 10% of the time.
Yeah.
It had inbuilt air system for chisels and whatnot that never worked because it leaked. Um, what honestly pushed it is I think it was right before when you came back. What actually pushed us to replacing it was the fact that the built-in hydraulic system for the tools, it
Yeah.
failed on us on a major extrication, like straight up failed. That was the final straw. Now, here's what's funny: that truck has had those problems since I've been there, 2015. We didn't
Yep.
get 1913 until 2000. What was it 2022? I think it was. Yeah, somewhere in there. Like we've had a couple years now. Um. Anyways, when we went to the trustees and said, "Hey, this needs to happen," they asked, "Well, what's wrong?" There's never been a problem. We give them this laundry list. Like, well, it's like, yeah, you don't get. We've been holding this thing together with duct tape and bubble gum. It's like because that's what we do. When you call, we figure out how to make it work. I'm not gonna tell you ever we can't do that. There's no person that we've never gotten out of the house somehow. There's no fire that we somehow figured out how to put out. There's no car we haven't figured out how to cut up. Like
Yep.
no, and I can't do it are just not a part of our vernacular. And
Exactly.
but it bites us because whenever it comes to stuff like that, and our truck's not ready or our equipment's not ready, like that, our ego kind of takes over. It's like, we can handle this. We got this. Okay, we'll figure something out. Oh, I'm missing a freeze board. Oh, we'll figure it out. We'll do something else. It's like, no, we need to we need to stand up for ourselves and say, no,
Yeah.
this is wrong. And if you want us to do our job right, you need to actually step up as leadership and help us meet that goal.
Exactly. Like it's easy for us because our truck checks don't take very long because everything's pre-packaged, which I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely hate. Because then it doesn't. Yeah, I get it. It doesn't take a whole extra, but I shouldn't have to open a bag to open up another bag to get that piece of equipment out. I think it's dumb, but I also understand it. But it's like I got to make sure everything I have is ready for the day because I only have a certain amount of things I'm supposed to keep on my truck. And when I don't have that, I have to go through everything to
Mm-hmm.
make sure I do have everything. You know, it's like
Yeah.
give me time. It might take
Mm-hmm.
extra. Like I get it. We'll be en route to that call as
Yeah.
soon as we're done. But I got to make sure I have what I need for the day because if I don't, and something hits the fan, and they're like, "Well, why didn't you have enough of this?" Because I got rushed out the door
Mm-hmm.
by dispatch for a call. Well, why'd you rush out? I don't want that to come back on me. I'd rather get in trouble for making sure I have everything I need than not have what I need and
Yeah.
something happens.
No. When you said there's a bag inside a bag, all I could think of is that SpongeBob episode where they were selling the chocolates and they had the chocolate bag and he just pulls out the one zipper bag, pulls out another zipper bag, goes up. That's all I could think.
Yes, that's what
Russian
it's like.
nesting dolls.
Yes, it's exactly what it feels like. Like I said, I get it why we do it. It's prepackaged because they're trying to keep
Yep.
costs down. I get that. That's
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest expenses that they have is cost on the equipment. But just throw the stuff in there. Not like now you got to buy rolls and rolls
Mm-hmm.
of this stuff. Got to have this heat sealer for the stuff. Got prepackaged all that. I'm like, just put the two
Yeah.
stuff in there. Like I get it. And then you got to have stickers to label which catheters, which size syringes they are. I'm like, guys, this is too much.
Well, and there's a point at which you have to look at and say, is this actually forwarding our goal? Because I'm guessing from what you're saying is this like IVs would be an example where you have each bag is like you have a 20 gauge. It's with a 20 gauge and a start kit and a flush and a lock, and it's all together. No, well, it's
you have a 20, 22, and a 24 together.
So basically, if you open up the packaging anyways, then you're basically wasting 3 catheters. I mean, you could move them to the next, but you're.
Well, yeah. So we have bins that we throw them back in there for restock, and they just restock a 20 or a 22 in there and seal it back together and throw it back in the supply room.
But it already all comes basically pre-packaged. Your start kit already comes pre-packaged from the hospital. We don't have to build them anymore.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The start kits, there's 4 start kits, and when we put the kit together, you heat seal one end, put 4 start kits, heat seal the other end, done. Why are we doing this?
Kind of.
It's the same thing with nasal cannulas, non-rebreathers, cat nose. I'm like, guys, this is beyond stupid.
Well, because.
But I also get it because it helps newer people learn. But everything's labeled on the shelves just like we have.
See, this is a good idea fairy moment that comes down from your higher echelons. It says, oh, what would help is if we did this really overly complicated thing that would look really organized. It's Instagram worthy if it's organization. Like you could take pictures and put it on Instagram, and everyone's like, oh man, that's so cool. Yeah. And we're all looking at, like, we do this with freaking European fire departments for whatever reason. Because why? Because they're freaking photogenic. That's why. I guarantee you go to any given firehouse in Europe, anywhere, you will find the exact same nonsense that you do in the United States. You'll find hose that's not always rolled properly. You'll find fittings that they jiggle and they shake. It's not all perfectly German engineered machined. But when it becomes more important for you, and this, I guess, this is the overarching thing. And I mean, we're at some point going to have to cut this off here because, maybe this is a good transition for next week. The overarching issue I see with this new brand of toxic leadership, where we're so honed in on the team that nothing else matters, is that when your goal becomes more important for you for how it looks than how it actually performs. That's an issue, because we can have the most photogenic people who run an ambulance who are there always, Fabio hair and whatnot, your Scarlett Johansson types. They look good. They always look good. But if they can't do the job, then it's not helping us. You could have your little packages of your IVs and nasal cannulas and everything all put all nicely packaged up.
I'll have to send you.
Please do. I'm kind of curious what this looks like.
All of our eye gels are pre-packaged
which
together.
Again makes no sense because you're going to use them individually. And in that moment, I don't want to be tearing open. I have enough hard enough time, especially dealing with snot and blood and whatnot, tearing packaging. I don't need anything extra to do.
It drives me nuts. I hate it. I complain about it every morning because I'm like, this is the most idiotic system ever.
But it's what's replacing, and this is what I'm trying to say, is that it's what's replacing actual good workmanship. I think of somebody who has a garage shop, like, and like if you go out to my workshop right now, it is in general disarray. It always is.
Usually
it always is. But it's because that shit gets used all the time, and I realize that there is merit to putting stuff away and keeping things organized. But I do become a little concerned whenever I go into somebody's workshop and it is spotlessly clean. And then they're saying, oh, we're going to do this really, really big thing. And I'm looking, I'm like, do you even know how to use these tools? Like your tools look like you pulled them out of the packaging yesterday.
Yep.
There's no nicks, no grease, no grime, no anything. It looks good. I'll just say it looks manly. It looks like, I know what I'm doing. But all it does is it's just a facade for that way whenever you say, oh, well, they it took it forever to do stuff. Oh, but you know what? They came prepared. It's okay. It took it forever to do stuff. They came prepared. It's like, no, it's a facade. It's not real. So
Right.
and I think that really what you just brought up there really just overarches it all. But
Yeah, you're gonna be like, what the hell when
mhm.
you see
Oh,
all down to the
I am
tourniquets.
looking forward to it because it's see, I love looking at stuff like that, and I save like on my YouTube, I save shorts and stuff all the time, both good and bad, because it's like sometimes I save the bad ones because like this is what we will not do because in that short it looks really cool, it looks really effective
Yeah,
until you stop and ask yourself, what does this actually accomplish? What does this actually do for anybody? And that's the that's the point at which you have to look and say, okay, maybe maybe we should go a different direction.
yep.
So I hate to say it, you're right. When I asked, like, oh, you think we'd do this in 2 episodes? You said no. We probably. It's like, yeah, I sit over there and smile with you and your little mustache. Uh huh. Uh huh. So, um, yeah, next week, think as we kind of as saying it was like transitioning, like, what do we do with this? And I mean, that could take a whole another hour and a half to begin with.
Yeah.
But that's almost the inevitable thing. Is like, what do we do? Because as we said before, our generation is getting ready to take over these positions if we have not started already.
Yep.
And we're doing so without any real guidance. And so that's going to be the next logical question is like, so what do we do with this? How do we take what's going on in LA, what's going on in Lake, and what's going on, like all these different things is like, man, this is messed up. And how do we actually take that and positively make positive change, actually make change that's good for people, not just that looks good.
Yeah, I agree. We can probably spend the next hour and a half on just a solution, coming up
Mm-hmm.
with solutions for
Yeah.
these issues. Are we going to find a solution for every problem?
No.
Absolutely not. But you got to, like, well, you got
Yes.
to try things,
Yes.
trial and error. You know, you just can't, nope, we're not going to fix that. Let's try to fix it
Yes.
with this or that. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You know, you have to at least try. You got to show
Absolutely.
that.
Well, and sometimes too, you have to admit when your fix is not working. You know.
Yep.
And it's just kind of quick aside. I was talking with one of our captains the other night. And we were talking about backing policies and how stupid backing policies are because at the hospital we back into the bays, right? We don't always have a backer there. You know, if you're a volunteer fire department, even if you're a full-time fire department, you're going to end up having to back a truck up eventually, or you take a truck out for service and you come back and no crew members are there. It's like you're going to back it up eventually. We have backup cameras, we have mirrors, we have alarms and stuff. Like we have all this stuff now that negates it, and yet we still fall back on certain things. That like, no, this should be part of things we're teaching, not giving them band-aids to.
Yeah.
But
I got to tell a lot of people, your partner's in the back, have them look out the back window. Problem solved.
Right? Yeah. Well, let's see. That only works though if they're not busy doing compressions or ventilating. You know, that only works in a certain situation.
There's certain situations exactly. Like, hey, oh, it's just a little bit of nausea, vomiting. That's good. You can stop right there. All right, cool. Thank you. I mean, like you said, different situations where that will not work.
So, but no, I mean, I realize not every, as you said, not every solution is a good one. But sometimes we have to be willing to admit, yeah, that was not the right solution because I feel like that's the other thing that's getting us in trouble right now is we come up with a solution and we become married to it, and then we're not willing to admit when people are coming saying, "Hey, dude, this isn't working." It's like a quick aside to that. So when we went out to NTC in 2018, I don't know what Jackoff did this, but they put a second lieutenant Butterbar in charge of coming up with what our what's it called, our fighting positions would look like. Now, mind you, we're out in the freaking desert, okay? Ain't nobody digging foxholes. We're actually, there's only certain people who are allowed to dig stuff out there because it's California, and we might overturn some sort of lost scorpion that has been extinct for 50 years, and we just whatever. So the second lieutenant came up with this, basically circling the wagons like formation for when we got to our drop points, and we got to our points where we were going to be staying for a couple days before it picked up. And it looks really good on paper, and when they pull us into this big room, they took us into this airplane hangar thing. They had big strip map on the floor with all the terrain and stuff, and showing us everything. It looked amazing. It's like, oh man, that is so cool, dude. Good job on you, Mr. 25-year-old college graduate who came up with this plan. That looks amazing. We did it once. And we did it once because even the first time we did it, all the different sectors who had different roles to do. So petroleum was off on one side, ammo and supplies off on the other side and whatnot. Mm-hmm. They're all like, yeah, our truck with all the ice and all the food is way up there, but our K-pod or whatever, what's it called? I don't remember. M-pod or whatever the cantina is that you can set up in the field is all the way down here, because that was the order of the convoy. And so you're jockeying trucks back and forth and whatnot to get everyone organized. And by the end of it, you don't have this nice circle anymore. Now you have little pods everywhere that everybody has to kind of fill in the middle anyway, which is like, yeah, that's more logical to what's actually going to happen. I mean, so it's like, to this idea, it's like coming up with a solution. At no point did anyone say, hey, this is really stupid, we're going to stop doing it. No, every time we picked up and jumped, they tried to okay, we're everyone get in this organization. All right, everyone stop. Okay, I need this truck and this, and they're individually guiding trucks where they want to go. It's like, how about we just stay in our sectors and you let the sector sergeants or sector command take over their sectors and go. And we'll all get there and we'll all go somewhere. But no, you have one person trying to orchestrate. We're talking like 70 vehicles and probably a good 140 people trying to do it. It was, yeah, it was chaos. So
sounds
yeah.
like it.
So yeah, long story short, if you got a plan that's not working, just sometimes you gotta let it go. You just gotta say it's not working. We gotta try something else. So
yep.
All right. Well, I think I can't see the timer right now, but I've been watching the clock up there. I know we've definitely been going for over an hour, so I can only imagine where we're at now. So yeah, we'll be back in next week. Actually, maybe next week. Actually, maybe the end of this week if we actually can do it, unless you want to mess with me again and try to convince me I'm losing my mind.
That
was terrible. Oh, that was terrible.
Terrible. That was the best thing.
That was terrible. That is what you call elder abuse. But yeah, we'll be back. We're going to continue this conversation because we'll probably revisit this too. And this is kind of the whole overarching theme of our podcast in general. But this is a problem that's only been getting worse, especially as we have young leadership coming into roles and not really having any guidance or any mentorship of how to lead in those roles. So yeah, we'll be back. So in the meantime, I have been your coordinator of shenanigans, Tim.
Mm-hmm. I mean, your silly goose.
You almost forgot your name, didn't you?
No, I had to do a dramatic pause.
Yeah, no one could see your little salute. Although, you know what? Since I'm redoing the whole thing, I'm taking a picture of you doing a salute just for that.
You know Al from Home Improvement?
More power. That's Tim Allen. That's not. So we'll be back next week for part 3 of our new brand of toxic leadership. We'll see you then.